So far we have been writing SQL queries manually to get data from the database, but Laravel also provides us with another way to interact with the database, which is Query Builder. So we don't have to write SQL queries ourselves, but instead we will be using Readable PHP API. And in order to write this SQL statement by using Query Builder, let's do the following. I'm still going to use DB class, but this time we have to call method table and specify the table from where we're going to read the data from. And what this will do is it will create a SQL query to fetch all the data from the courses table. And in order to run this query eventually, we have to call get like this. And this way in the browser we're not going to see any difference. So the result is exactly the same. We have still fetched data from the courses table. And now let's do the same, but inside the second method in here. So we're trying to fetch individual course by its ID. And to do this, we'll have to additionally specify where clause. We can do so by calling method where the first argument will be the column that we're going to use to filter out results. And the second argument will be the value of the identifier. And as always, at the end, to run this query, we'll have to call get. So we are expecting that this query is going to return only one record. But for some reason in the browser, we're getting an error when trying to open up page of the individual course. And that is because this query still returns a collection of records, even though there is only one element in that collection. It will be clear once we're going to print out the value of this variable on the screen. As you can see in here, we get the collection with one record. And to get only this one record, instead of getting the whole collection, we can use method first, like this. And this time, as we can see, the course variable contains individual row from the courses table. Let's see if it has fixed the problem on the course page. And indeed, the page works fine. And now we can simplify this syntax even more by calling method find. This method accepts identifier of the course that we are about to fetch. And in the browser, we're still going to get the same result. We see the data of the particular course. And by the way, we still have one more SQL statement that we have written ourselves inside web.php file. So let's just go here and change this query. So it will use query builder syntax. I'm going to call table and specify table name and get all the records from this table by calling method get. This route is responsible for fetching courses on the main page. So let's open up this page and see if it still works. We can see the courses are displayed in here. Now let's see a couple of ways how we can inspect queries that are created by using Query Builder. So in order to print out a SQL statement that was generated by the Query Builder, we can call method dump. And on the main page, we're going to get a SQL statement of that particular query. But we are getting an error because we haven't run that query yet. And in order to run this query, at the end we have to call get. And this time it works, but in case if we don't want to continue a script execution after the SQL query has been printed, we have to call dd. So it is still going to print out a SQL statement on the page, but other than that, we're not gonna see anything else because the script execution has been terminated. Let's also try to inspect this second SQL query, which is used to fetch data of the particular course. So for now, I'm going to use where clause manually in order to have an option to call dd. And this time, besides generated SQL statement, we also have the array with dynamic values for this query. And by the way, if you would want to have those values already inserted into row SQL, instead of using dd, we can use dd row SQL, like this. And this time we're gonna get only one SQL query, where all the dynamic placeholders will be replaced with actual values. Or there is also an alternative way to print out a SQL query, but continue script execution. As you may guess, the method is called dump row SQL. Now let's just revert all these temporary changes switch over to App Service Provider class, and in here we have registered our listener in the previous lesson that will be executed every time a SQL query will be run. So besides printing out all this data about a SQL query, we can also use method toRowSQL in order to get a SQL query with already replaced dynamic placeholders. You might also want to run Composer update in the project root in order to get all the latest Laravel updates. And in the browser, we're going to see that the last element of this array is generated SQL query with all dynamic placeholders already replaced with actual values. I'm going to comment out this listener just to be able to quickly use it in the future in case we're gonna need it. And let's continue development in the next lesson.